Billy, we are on back again. What's going on? Jennifer is on. What's up, Billy?
What's up, Jen?
Man, it's such a big question, such a big thing to talk about for athletes, for parents, for coaches. We spent all of this time in the off season preparing. We spent all of this time, refining our swing. We spent all of this time recovering emotionally. Maybe you left last season feeling down, feeling beat up on some things that have happened. You've had some time to recover, to rethink things, to see things from a different perspective. Now, how do we go into this next season and get the most out of it? So I'm excited to talk about this today, man. How are things going for you?
Sam, I am well. Thanks for having me. I know everyone's excited for the season. Everyone's ready for spring, to get outside. Hopefully we're going to have some nice weather and we can get out there and, get after it. But, like the new season in any sport, baseball, softball, whatever, we want to look at it as a fresh opportunity to make the type of impact that we want to. Tevin and Neil Patel.
Neil Patel's a monster, man. That's a great picture to have on there with him.
That is sweet. But yeah, if we can approach the season, fresh and try not to bring any baggage with us from last season or even, from the off season. So even if we ended the season really well last year, we were killing it, you're a freaking beast out there. Great. But coming into the new season, it's a new chance, a new opportunity to show what you can do, and to come into it with a fresh perspective is good, positive or negative, leading off from last year.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And here's my one huge nugget, my one big takeaway. If nobody takes anything else away from this entire talk, I want them to take this, at least from me. And I know you're going to drop a ton of value on them, but I want them to take this, is that you do not have to identify with who you were last year. Just because you performed a certain way last year, just because you got certain results last year, does not mean that you are going to perform the same way, both positively and negatively. So, if you didn't have the season that you wanted, if you didn't have the type of performances that you wanted, you don't have to identify, you don't have to label yourself as that type of player. You don't have to label yourself as an average player. You don't have to label yourself as, if we're talking about baseball specifically, you don't have to identify as, a strong defensive player, but not very strong with the bat, to give a more specific example, right? You're not constricted by who you were last year. A new season is like a beautiful opportunity to be who you want to be this year.
Exactly. It's just like this baseball happens in the spring season for a reason. Everything is regenerating. Everything's coming back to life. People are getting outside, enjoying the sunny days, the outdoors. So the same thing with your season, approach it as a fresh start. Don't label yourself, I don't think, with anything. You're just, first of all, you're a human being. And secondly, okay, yeah, you're a baseball player, but you don't need to, I agree, label yourself in any single way. So especially youth athletes, they're going to have developed a lot from last year, physically, especially physically, youth athletes going through puberty, getting stronger, getting to become more of like a man, grow into their body. So you're going to develop and you're going to improve from last year just because you got stronger naturally. Yes. You should have also tried to develop mentally, which is what we're talking about with a lot of this mental training. So you can come into the season stronger mentally so you can, withstand any setbacks or stay humble, even if you are playing really well. So I would, like Sam said, approach it with a fresh start. Don't label yourself. And most of all, go out and have fun and really, enjoy playing the game of baseball again. You're lucky and you're great. You should be grateful to be on the field.
100%, man. And I know we've talked about this before. Probably the majority of people watching this, just understanding that Facebook is, mostly parents, right? So from a parent's perspective, understanding that you want to be completely supportive of whoever that player or whoever your son or daughter wants to be, that player that they want to become. So I know the conversations between son and daughter with parent might not always go as smoothly as you would like it to be, but my suggestion is try to get a clear picture, try to get an idea of what it looks like, of the type of player that they want to be. so that you can encourage and you can support them in terms of accomplishing that, in terms of achieving that, in terms of becoming that player. Because if you're just trying to support them and you're not necessarily sure, this is from a parent's perspective, if you're not sure what they want to be, what type of player they want to be, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to give them the encouragement, to give them the support, to give them what they need, what they are earning for, in terms of, you know, here's the beginning of the season, here's the end of the season. And I don't know if I expressed that clearly enough, but do you see where I'm coming from?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. So I think, you know, a plan of action could be just to maybe have a conversation with your son or daughter, or even as a coach, to have a conversation with your players, you know, and ask them, you know, what type of team, as a coach, what type of team do you see as being this year? As a parent, what type of player do you see yourself becoming this year? What type of teammate can you be? You know, can you support your teammates, whether you're doing, you know, good or bad? Can you try to work together as a team, you know, fight for one common goal? So these are all things that you can ask your athlete. And, you know, it's obviously a lot easier to express things when you vocalize them, when you verbalize them. You know, and everything's up in your head, it can get a little jumbled. But if you have someone to talk to and you can really kind of just, especially in a relaxed setting, someone that you trust, you can really, you know, get your thoughts straight just by speaking them out loud. So maybe ask your son or daughter, you know, what type of athlete are you? Are you the type of athlete who's like, you know, you're playing in high school, you know, you want to get a college scholarship, you want to keep playing, great. Maybe the athlete is just playing because they have fun playing the game, you know,
Exactly.
And they don't have plans of playing after high school, and that's totally fine. Or maybe they just like being with their friends and they're pretty good at the sport, you know, and they're on the team, great. You know, not everyone has to go for a college scholarship or to play
100%.
professionally. So maybe just having that conversation would be the first plan of action as a parent and coach.
And just remove the tension, remove the pressure of expectations from the parent. I know that's a big obstacle. That's a big thing that, you know, kids want to live up to their parents' expectations. Kids want to live up to their coaches' expectations. But, you know, a lot of times that's really constricting. But I want to switch gears just for a second. And there is a huge problem. There's a huge opportunity at the same time in youth sports that kids need to be taught to embrace failure. You know, you hear the jokes all the time about, you know, the participation trophies and all that bullshit that goes on. I think there's a huge opportunity for leagues, for coaches, for parents to teach their kids, to teach the youth to embrace failure. Because let's be honest, there's going to be times where we screw up. There's going to be times where we fuck up in life, and we need to learn to embrace that. But if we're programmed from the time that we're 5 years old playing sports to the time that we're 18 and we're done playing sports, you know, say that we ended in high school, if we're programmed all those years to always get a participation trophy and to always get, you know, awarded just for whatever sake, and instead of embracing failure, then we're doing them a disservice. But I think there's a huge opportunity for parents, for coaches, for teachers to teach the youth how to embrace failure. I know I can't look back and pinpoint any one coach, at least when I was young, at least when I was very young, right? Any one coach that really taught me that lesson. Can you?
That's a great question, but
yeah, I know you think back to the coaches like just quickly, but like how I really can't think of any to embrace failure. I mean, don't get me wrong, I had some really great coaches, and I had some pretty piss poor coaches, to be honest. But you know, how can they teach that important lesson of embracing failure? And we're talking about preparing for the season, right? And this is why I bring this point up, is because, you know, preparing for the season, there has to be the awareness, there has to be the knowledge that you're going to mess up, you're going to fail this season. You don't know where you're going to fail, you don't know how you're going to fail, but you have to be prepared to fail.
Yeah,
you can't just go into the season and expect everything's going to be all sunshine and rainbows.
Right. I mean, that's life, you know. Things are going to go wrong. Things don't turn out how you plan them, you know, and that's part of what makes life so great is that it's a mystery and you don't know how it's going to turn out. You know, you're living your own like in your own drama movie. Hopefully you keep the drama to a minimum, but that's the cool part about it. You don't know what's going to happen. So anything can happen. So your opportunities really are endless, but at the same time, you're going to have adversity. You're going to fail. I don't think there's been any coach that's really brought it up in the beginning of the season. Like, listen, guys, I know we have high expectations. You know, we want to win a championship, but we're going to have to kind of work through some failure, work through some adversity. We're not sure what it's going to be, but by really coming together and banding as a team and working with your teammates and, you know, like playing in unity, that can help you overcome that obstacle, whatever it may be.
I mean, just by saying that, just imagine the tension, just imagine the pressure that releases from your team. By telling them this at the beginning of the season, that we're going to screw up, we're going to mess up, we're going to fail, we're going to probably lose games, right? Then all of a sudden that obstacle comes 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month into the season, and the players have this in the back of their mind that, okay, we are going to screw up. What can we learn from it? Instead of, okay, oh my God, here's an obstacle, we're not prepared for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a complete mindset shift. And, you know, you and I are focused on the mindset side of things. So if you're a coach, or even a parent could tell their son or daughter this, right? You're going to screw up this year. You're going to mess up. But the fact of the matter is that you don't know when it's going to happen. And it can be an opportunity to learn, not a you know, time to put yourself into a slump or whatever words you want to use for it.
I agree. I mean, having, again, that conversation, you know, with your son or daughter is going to help. You know, what are you going to do, you know, when adversity strikes? What are you going to do if you have a setback? And, you know, just see the response, see how they plan to deal with it. You know, everyone plans to deal with failure in a certain way, but that doesn't always, you know, come to be. Failure is a really tough thing to get through, and you need the support of your loved ones to get through it. Even having a bad game, you know, as an athlete, it really takes a toll on you, even though it shouldn't. You know, there's more important things than the sport. But just having your family there to support you can really help you come through that adversity. So as a parent, again, just having that conversation and trying to be open with your athlete is gonna be great, you know, for them and you. Then everyone's on the same page.
Tevin, what would you recommend to get the confidence for a new season? Training in between season or completely resting? Go ahead. What are your 2 cents on that?
I think it's different for different sports, but in any off season, you're going to want to prepare for next season, mentally and physically. So physically, you know, let your body, you know, heal and recover a little bit after the season. But then once you feel recovered, you know, and it gets to be the time where you want to start getting ready for the season, then yeah, you're going to want to train, you know, physically, start training the skill work. You can be training mentally, you know, the whole way through the off season, which is great. You don't really need much of a break from that. But yeah, I think rest a little bit, recover, and then, you know, get your butt in the weight room, you know, get working, start working on your swing and your throwing, whatever you got to do to get ready for the season. And to get that confidence for a new season, look at it as a new opportunity. You're embarking on a new journey, you know. Like I said, opportunities are endless. You don't know how it's going to turn out. So you could really achieve, you know, anything that you desire if you believe in yourself and you have the support of your loved ones and your teammates. I think you can do whatever you set out to do.
Yeah, I agree, man. Well put. Tevin, thanks for the question, my friend. So let me ask you this, because this is an awesome opportunity, right? You're still a professional athlete. You're a coach, you're an expert teacher, and you're a professional athlete, right? You know what? Just from your own experience, and I know everyone's experience is different, right? What are the big things that you're focusing on this offseason? To prepare for the next season, trying to keep it, you know, congruent with what we're talking about today.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first of all, I want to consider myself an expert, you know, really in anything, because I'm always trying to learn more, you know, and I don't really think anyone's really an expert at anything.
Very humble.
Always get better at it.
Yes.
But thank you for that. Thank you for the compliment, dude. I really appreciate that. Being an athlete, going into my new season, first of all, I'm excited and grateful that I can still play the game, and that I'm still going to have a team to play on. Hopefully, if everything falls into place, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But mentally is really what I think I've been working on more this off season than anything, more than physically. So kind of just going along with dealing with failure. I've tried to really get a broader mindset of what's really important in my life outside of baseball, and how can I do really well at that, such as being a father, staying fit, like nutritionally speaking, being fit mentally where, I have peace of mind, I'm getting good sleep, getting outside, really appreciating life. So trying to kind of improve my life outside of the baseball field and to get stronger mentally, and to know that I can carry that into the season because, I worked my butt off to really have a good state of mind and to go in with confidence, but to also to go in, like you said, and know that, I'm not going to have a good game every time I go out there. And it's how I bounce back from that bad game that really says a lot about me as an athlete, and a lot about my character. How can I bounce back from a shitty performance, and try to improve from it.
Yeah, I agree, man. So there's different schools of thought, right? Or do you try to remove the emotion from a negative game or from a negative performance, or do you try to dissect those negative emotions and pull from it?
It's a good question, and I think it's different for every athlete. Everyone's a little bit different, in how they approach things and how they can kind of figure things out mentally. But for me, I think it's best to, if you're feeling a certain emotion after a game, anger, bitterness, whatever. I think you should sit with that emotion for a little bit, see how it feels, see how it's affecting you. If you're angry that you had a bad game, you can know that, well, I still care, which still says a lot about where you're at. I still care, how well I do and how well our team does. So I still have love for and passion for the game. Let that sit with you a little bit. And then if you can figure anything out from it, great. If not, then it's time to move on, after you leave the game, after you leave the field. I think it's time to move on for the next day, especially in baseball. In the MLB, they play every freaking day. So you really have to bounce back quick, and kind of forget about the past and move on to the next pitch, the next play, the next game.
Yeah, man, that's actually one of the things that drive my passion, to help people with the mindset side of things, is that, things would spiral out of control for me, both positively and negatively, right? That spiral worked the opposite way. I was really streaky, man, from a hitting perspective, you can definitely call me a streaky hitter, but, from a mindset part of it, what we're trying to pass along to, parents, coaches, and players is that it can spiral out of control quick. Like you said, MLB plays every single day. In college, we were one of the very few conferences that played 4-game series in a weekend. So 1 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. So, within less than 72 hours, you got 4 games in. Man, if you let that first at bat or those first couple of innings of that first game affect you, you're taking yourself out of a lot of baseball, a lot of innings, a lot of reps, a lot of opportunities. So yeah, the ability to bounce back quickly is of utmost importance.
True. And something that I've been trying to work on in life and in baseball is, not to get too high and not to get too low. So even when I'm, doing really well, having a good day, I try not to, let it get to my head thinking this is the best thing ever. Obviously appreciate when you're doing well. And then, when you're not doing so well, don't let it get you down, and just know that that's just another phase that you're going through. There's always going to be yin and yang, positive, negative polarity. So when you're in that negative, you just know that you're going to bounce back just as high as you were low. And really the same thing for how high you get, you're going to go lower, and not to sound negative, but that's a part of life. And that's the beauty in life, and then you can bounce back from that. So it's all like, you're just rowing along in a canoe, man, and you don't know where it's going. You're going down waterfalls, you're going through the rapids, and then you're going on some peaceful, tranquil, just chilling on the raft, But you never know what's going to happen. And I think that's a decent way to look at it. At least for me, that's what seems to be working lately.
100%, man. 100%.
And then as a coach, sorry, just one more thing. As a coach, you can tell your team, you know, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs, and that's what we were talking about earlier. But have that conversation, you know, try to, you know, pull yourself out of the downward and, you know, get to the upward spiral. But I think having that conversation is really important, and just letting your team know it's okay if you fail. You know, it's okay if you're not doing well, because we're going to bounce back.
Yeah, I agree, man. I feel like I could talk on these topics like for hours and hours, but we're coming up on 1 o'clock, so I do have to.
Anyone would listen for hours and hours.
Hey, man, if they pop in for 30 seconds and they get a piece of information, man, I feel like it's worth it.
Sure.
So, you know, we're coming up on 1, man. What do you want to leave the viewers with today?
I was thinking when you were talking about how having that conversation with your team can put everyone at ease and like have more of like a peace about everything. I was thinking about like at the end of seasons, you know, any sport, when a team's doing well, they're going into the playoffs, they want to win, you know, and then they're playing some team who's like in the cellar, you know, they're in last place, they have nothing to really play for.
Yep.
And you know, that shitty team ends up beating the team who's going into the playoffs.
Yes.
How do you think that is, Sam?
Expectations.
And also, you know, that team at the bottom has nothing that they're really playing for, so they're just going out there to have fun and play the sport they love. And they end up beating the team who has the high expectations because they're more nervous knowing that they need to win to be hot going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it can give your team like a peace of mind knowing that, you know, tell them it's okay if we lose. It's okay if we start slow, you know, we're going to pick up and that's fine. Just to get them, you know, that little, just to play more relaxed, a little more stress-free. I think that can do wonders for a team.
I agree, man. Last question here. How long do you work with an athlete before he or she can see results? From the physical side and from the mental side, man, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but, you know, as soon as a 5-minute conversation, not always, there has to be the expectation that it's always a process. There always needs to be, you know, a substantial amount of work that needs to go into it. But, you know, as quick as 5 minutes to just change the perspective or change, you know, make a little bit of a tweak can, you know, it's like the analogy of like the door hinge or knocking down the big domino that affects everything else. So it can happen quickly. It can happen in a few minutes, but there needs to be the expectation of, okay, we can make a tweak right now and you can see results, but there needs to be a constant process. You can't just expect these, you know, these quick fixes all the time. So I don't know if you want to say anything on that.
No, it could be one day, it could be 1 year. I mean, just
exactly
receives it.
Yep, 100%. So, Billy, it's always a pleasure, man. Tuesdays, 12:34 EST. We'll see you next week, man.
Sure. Good luck to all the athletes out there getting ready for baseball, softball, spring sports.
Absolutely.
Hope you have a great season and have some fun. That's what it's all about. Have fun. You know, enjoy your relationships with your teammates.
Agreed, man. All right, Billy, take care, man. We'll get shipping here quick.
Hey,
absolutely, man. Yeah. Hardest thing in any sport, without
facts.
question. Without question.
100%.
All right, guys.
Softball, I mean, same thing.
Absolutely, man.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. If you did, please smash that subscribe button down below and leave your questions in the comment section, because that's the inspiration behind these videos to help serve you guys specifically with what you're struggling with. And if you'd like to take things a step further, check the links in the description below. If you're interested in our coaching, if you're interested in checking me out on other platforms and connecting with me there, if you're interested in some of our other free training, definitely check it out in the description below. And I will see you guys on the next video.